Hello, welcome to episode 3.
I'm
We
glad you're
made it.
keeping track.
Keeping track because I have the Google folder that's labeled with episode
That's
numbers. It's
that's a good
helpful.
thing to do for yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
That's when past self helps out future self, and you're like, rock on.
yeah. Good job, me.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to you for reminding me. I was like, what topic are we going to talk about? And then brainstormed a whole bunch of things. And then you kindly reminded me that we already decided what we were talking about and teased it out last week. So without
Can't leave
further
the people
ado,
disappointed. We
no,
can't leave them hanging about our every word.
no, we can't. So what we are going to cover today, we wanted to talk about celebs versus influencers and the overlap, and are they different, and how do we define it? And I think there is some confusion in the space. I think dealing with the two is very different. I think there's a lot of juicy stuff we can get into here.
Yes.
I guess I'll start with how we define it when people ask us, because I think there are celebrities. So we define it as you are a celebrity if you gained your fame from something outside of social media, and you are a mega creator or a mega influencer or a celebrity influencer, like with that kind of both words together, if your fame comes just from your social media platform.
Okay.
So
So
if
examples would be Mr. Beast,
Mr. Beast would still be a creator,
mega
celebrity,
creator.
or mega
Okay. Yeah.
creator, but
Got it.
someone who was on, we had a client once upon a time who was obsessed with The Bachelor and kept wanting us to use people from The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Oh,
So like not a high-end celebrity perhaps, but that would fall into the celebrity realm
got it.
because that fame came from outside of social media. So that's how we define it, just to
Yep.
kind of
That's a
make sure we're
great,
clear. Yeah.
great definition. Yeah. I support that.
Okay.
Does it change how you approach working with them? Those designations even aside.
I think so. I think for those who got their fame outside of social media, there's more handholding needed, both for the creator themselves, and then also the agents and managers who might not, they're negotiating all types of things, and it's not always just social media. Often, like we were doing with one of the people from The Bachelor, we were doing a live. This is dating it. We were doing a Facebook Live, and you have to, set a reminder, remind them. We had to have a staff member show up and be there and like give like not a full script, but like talking points. And there's just a lot more. There's oftentimes more work involved in doing something like this with a celebrity, because the creator space is very much, I mean, people have assistants and people have teams, but at its heart, it's still very much do it yourself. And I think people who come from that more outside of social media celebrity realm are not used to doing anything themselves. And so we have to kind of staff up to take care of that.
Yeah, which links back to our conversation last week about NIL and college student athletes needing more support. They're just not necessarily naturally creators or natural with video. It's not their, it's just something we've come to expect, and they've added into their package. And I have so much to say, but when you talk about having to staff up, which is so smart to manage the whole process, but here's where we start to get into the differences between celebrities, spokespeople, brand ambassadors, and influencers, is we look at influencers as people because they've come up in social media and they've had to learn each new algorithm, each new platform as it's developed, each new Google change. They are mini creative agencies. So we rely on them. We, meaning our agency, but we, I think as an industry, rightly so, lean on them for a lot of knowledge and expertise that goes out the window when you're talking about staffing up to help a celebrity. And back in the day, so I feel like, there used to be a moment more than a moment when there were brand ambassadors and spokespeople that would go on the news stations to talk about health issues or, new foods or additives or laws that were being passed. And they were media trained. They
We
came
do
sort of,
that. Yeah, we
yeah.
still do that. So we were doing a program for a healthcare, like a home healthcare device, and we were tasked with finding a fully media, an influencer who was a
Yeah.
doctor, but he or she had to be fully media trained because part of the ask was an SMT, a satellite media tour.
Yes.
And, this person was going to be doing 10 to 12 media interviews over the course of a morning and had to, like, there wasn't budget to do that full media. Like, it had to be someone
Yeah.
who already had that kind of experience.
You weren't going to be training them. They had to come pre-packaged with the training.
Correct.
By the
I mean,
way,
we train them on the client stuff, the messages and
yes,
stuff, but not like where to look at the camera
the
and how to
foundational.
handle a question that's off track. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like now we have the secret password too for OG PR practitioners. It's SMT. Like, does anybody even know what that is
yeah,
anymore if we don't spell it out? So I got it. I got it.
you got it.
But yeah, yes, media training. Okay. So back to the celebrity and you staffing up to support that person.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like you would do the same thing for a mega influencer? Probably wouldn't have to.
No, I mean, you use the example of Mr. Beast. Like, he has a huge team and all they do is social media. I
Hmm.
mean, the social media team, I think he has teams selling drinks and Lunchables and whatnot.
Yeah. He's got a
But
whole thing.
yeah, you don't have to. You don't
Yeah.
have to in that way. I mean, there are things that there are facets of the contract and the relationship with the celebrity and with a celeb level influencer that are the same. So
Hmm.
getting back to last week, dealing with that talent agent slash manager, having someone else doing that negotiation.
Hmm.
Um, I think with the celebrities, that's even a little bit more elevated and like high stress.
Mm.
I told you this story. We were trying to make a contract happen with a celebrity a little while ago, and it fell apart really because of the celebrity, and we hadn't even signed a contract yet, and we had a manager asking for a kill fee.
Right.
Like, that's not going to happen with a non with a social media first
Right.
celebrity level influencer. That's only going to happen with like a Hollywood type.
Right. And you touched on something in talking about Mr. Beast and his team. I firmly believe that the brands that are doing influencer marketing right, or the agencies like ours that help them, the best are learning from their influencers as they go. Maybe not everything about the program, but it never fails that when we run a program, we learn a little something about how to conduct outreach, how to negotiate, how to leverage their platforms, how to weave in messaging, any number of things, because the point is the influencers are the experts on those platforms.
Right.
And you lose that again with the celebrity. You're sort of nurturing them to be the figurehead, to be the
Right.
face, which do we want to talk about then? I don't know if we're ready for that, but I'm having this discussion sort of all the time that influencers are not celebrities or spokespeople or ambassadors, but especially celebrities. Okay, name a celebrity. I'm going to put you on the spot. Name a celebrity.
I'll name one that we pitched for something a couple months ago. Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio. Okay, so he may not fit into this. We'll see. Now I just screwed myself. Okay.
This is like an improv game.
Right. It's Mad Libs. Only I don't know. I just look crazy. Okay. If Ralph, or I'm thinking of like everybody wants to say like the Kardashians or like
Yeah.
these big names
Does
or
that work
Ariana
better?
Grande.
Kim Kardashian?
Maybe. But
Okay.
my point is consumers do look to celebrities, but they want to emulate the celebrity. They want a fraction of what that celebrity represents. If I use this lip gloss, if I drive this car, if I use, whatever it might be. Whereas influencers to me are educating their very well curated audience base around very kind of mundane topics sometimes, like how to feed your kids if they're if they've got allergies or how to train for a marathon. So it's not, I don't want to be like the influencer. I just trust them to tell me how they're doing things so I can incorporate that into my best life.
I don't know that I agree completely with that, because I think there are a lot of instances where the celebrities, you don't necessarily want to emulate them because you don't
Mm.
believe them with it. Like, um, we had a client years ago tell us that I don't even remember which Kardashian it was. They had hired some kind of Kardashian to sell a toothbrush, I think it was, and they paid her so much money and she sold one toothbrush because no one really believed that she cared. Like, it didn't make sense.
Right.
It wasn't a fit. Like,
Yes.
the celebrity doesn't win out over everything. Like, it still has to make sense.
Oh, totally.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think the influencers, and we kind of have earmarked this for a future discussion of performance marketing versus influencer
Mm.
marketing. I think there are
Yeah.
certain influencers where they are aspirational and you
Mm.
do want your life to be like them. And those are actually the ones who can kind of bridge that gap between pure, like, top of funnel influencer marketing and
Yeah.
bottom of funnel performance marketing where someone's clicking through to buy. So, like,
Right.
the example I always give is Kelly Hampton, who we have worked with for years, and I adore her content and I love her because I want my house to look like hers. I want my hair to look like hers. I want my skin to look like hers. I want my kids to
Yeah.
be as happy as her kids
Yeah.
seem like they are, and everything to be magical. And clearly I know that, like, she's only showing the best parts in that
Right.
content, but that is 100% aspirational.
Mm. Yes.
Um
I like the aspirational piece. I like that word to define that. At our agency, we likely work maybe with a different tier. So we're typically working with nano, micro, just getting into the macro level, maybe because we're more focused on the know, like, trust factor. So you have that with Kelly. So it's not that
yeah.
that's not
And
there.
we do work more with nanos and micros. I think my point was that it's not like that rule of, like, celebs being aspirational and influencers kind of like showing you what to do.
Right.
It some of I don't know that that's fully the way to define the difference between the
Mm.
two of them,
Yeah.
but, like, yeah, I mean, 90% of the content that we do is someone showing you how to use this type of butter in a cookie. Like,
Right. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying is there's a level of thought leadership for influencers that I wouldn't say is part of celebrity endorsements. Celebrity endorsements are about the platform that a person has built outside of social, using social, and that's the aspiration, like you said, versus I want to run a 4-minute mile. If anybody
wow.
takes that clip out of context, I am so in trouble. Okay, or I want to bake, gluten free for my daughter. Who do I know that does that I trust? So I don't have to research all the different flours. I don't
Right.
have to research the baking times at altitude. Somebody has digested that information and is giving it to me. And I trust them because XYZ. They've built a relationship with me. They've curated their content to focus on, it just happens to align with something I need. So I'm part of their audience. So another pet peeve of mine is when talent managers, or I'm trying to think of who else might do it. Sometimes brands do it too. And they say, oh, we're working with so and so on some kind of non-celebrity, non um, broadcast television, it's an influencer play straight up. Hey, we're working with so and so. Do you know that person? And I think I probably shouldn't know that person unless it hits one of my few buckets of interest in my life. Like,
Yeah.
your influencers should be talking to their target audience, and I'm not likely going to be part of it, except in obviously there are some categories of my life that I do look to influencers about, but not most of them.
Right.
So how do you feel
Right.
about that? Like, I just think it's an interesting thing. Do you know so and so? They could have 5 million views on or followers on Instagram or TikTok. And if they're talking about how to change a carburetor or the oil in their car, I will not know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, I would likely only know them. Like, I reference this program all the time because it was so specific. We did a program with professional bowlers last year, and I sure as hell did not know any of those professional bowlers
Right.
prior to doing that, because that's not the content that I'm watching, to your point. So if
Right.
there was someone who, is talking just about keto diets, or is, like, if they're on Clean Talk, I probably know them. If they're,
Right.
like, there's
Right.
certain areas that we focus
Is this the portion
on.
of the podcast where we out ourselves by talking about like what influencers we do know, what our habits
You
are?
know
But
what?
yeah, exactly that.
All I'm seeing right now are like weird dancing physical therapists showing me how to make my shoulder stop hurting. Like, the algorithm has figured out that that's really my big need right now.
Oh, okay. I might be calling you later about physical therapists. Let's see. No, it's true. Then how, as professionals who are researching influencers on a regular basis, our algorithms are wacky,
Yeah.
right? The things that I get returned to me, we did, we put together a list of dermatologists over the summer. And number one, I always learn again when I do this research, but sometimes I see things I did not want to see, like
Yeah.
about blackheads, and bowling might be a little safer. But we've put together lists, or we've worked with programs that were like eye-opening in some regards. Oh,
Yeah.
we're on a different
Yeah.
tangent now. But
But like,
yeah.
so I mean, so if a client comes to you and says, "Should we work with a celebrity, or should we do, like, what tier of influencer should we work with?" You tell me,
Mm,
like,
okay. There's
what is
so
your response if the
yeah.
goal is to, let's say the goal is top of funnel, letting people know
Mm.
that this product exists.
I would always say that the celebrity play and the influencer play can go hand in hand. I don't think it's an either or. Same with creator. We haven't really touched on that. I don't think influencers are creators always, or that creators are influencers always. Because of my designation earlier, I think creators, in case anybody cares, is more folks who have tapped into the zeitgeist and the culture and the fun of social media and the moment, and they're bringing their special blend of creativity and innovation, ingenuity to it, and brands can use them to stay current and relevant. I still think that's very different than an influencer who's talking to your audience on a regular basis about their pain points and has developed no like trust with that audience. Okay, so I think all of those can be part of a good
Yeah.
media play, or top of funnel marketing play. We won't handle the celebrity piece typically. We will more often than not talk about the nano, micro, macro influencer subset, and how, and again, this could be a different conversation for a different time, but how the influencers are growing and cycling through those different tiers all the time. So just when you think you found a great nano influencer, all of a sudden their micro, macro, and their rates explode. And like your point a couple weeks ago, you get a 3x of the rate that no longer can work with them.
Right.
There's that. And then there's impressions and reach and engagement rate. And where does that conversation come into the mix? And how do we educate brand partners about what to expect and what not to pin their hopes on, what not to pin their expectations of ROI on? How much do
Yeah.
we want to go into that?
It's probably a whole other conversation. I was just thinking that, like, to me, where a celebrity makes sense is when you, like, if you need a certain type of, like, we hired a comedian last year because we specifically needed funny content, and there was a comedian that had the exact right content, and she created this TikTok that was one of the funniest things I watched
Yeah.
last year. But it was, I mean, she did it with a crew for sure. It was a professional comedian.
Mhm.
That content was needed to run and pay. Like, we just needed a certain level of
Mm.
entertainment. So
Mhm.
we hired an entertainer.
Yep.
I think there's also, um, like, the PR play element of it.
Mm.
Like, our client Ergo Baby sent me a screenshot last week that one of their strollers was one of the, I think it was a Jenner, not a Kardashian. I think it was a Kardashian.
So
Or
close.
one of them.
Oh,
I think it
it
was a
was a Kardashian.
Kardashian.
Okay.
The one of them was using her stroller, and it got picked up by, it was just in a paparazzi photo that made it onto People.
Okay.
or Into
Yep.
People, onto people.com, Into People magazine. Like, so there's that element. Like, can you get earned media? You're way more likely to get earned media if that's important out of, and that one actually wasn't paid like that. The
Right.
stroller was gifted or purchased by them. Like, that wasn't part of our influencer program.
Yeah.
But like, that's there too. Like, I remember back when I worked at Edelman, we were doing a program for Huggies. I talk about this a lot because it was one of the reasons I started Sway Group, and they were doing a baby race in Times Square with their diapers. And we brought in like 3 or 4 mom bloggers who got paid not a ton of money. And then they brought in Tori Spelling, who got paid a ton of money because they wanted
The eyeballs.
entertainment press
Eyeballs.
to
Sure.
be there, to like, they wanted to get earned media out of it too. What
Yes.
frustrated me in that was like, I don't believe that Tori Spelling even knows what diaper she's buying. Like, I don't trust her. And this kind of gets to the crux of it for me. I don't trust her to tell me what diaper to get.
Yes. There has to be alignment, even if it's
But
a
those
celebrity.
people, those other moms who were there, I do. And that's more believable, and I
Yes.
might buy it. So to your point, there's a place for both, but I think that entertainment element and the earned media are the two big things for us.
Yeah, you're hitting one of our biggest, the drum that I beat is know, like, trust, KLT. That's what we're looking for in the influencers that we work with, because brands will take a long time to develop that with consumers, and they can shortcut that process through working with influencers that carry that. To your point, they can undercut it sometimes by using an influencer who doesn't seem aligned and doesn't probably embody the messaging and the positioning of that brand. And the other thing is this ecosystem that you're talking about, you've just touched on. There is such an ecosystem between influencer marketing, content marketing, paid, earned, all of it. And we need to be not working in a vacuum, not working in a silo around how can we explore and leverage the synergies between the two. Again, probably a topic for another time. I think we're up to like 17 that we've already riffed on in this podcast, but it's
none of which I will
smart.
remember because of perimenopause. So
But guess
luck
what?
to
You've
the
recorded
listeners.
it.
Yes.
That's really all this podcast is us trying to remember what we've talked about in a formal way. But the ecosystem is really important, and really, like, you're so smart to capitalize on and be acknowledging the different ways to leverage celebrities. It may not be influencer at first or only, but it all can weave together really nicely.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I love the owned. Well, you talked about owned and paid, and I think that's a key thing too. So when you're talking about any content that we get generated for our clients, there's some length of time of usage included in that, and there's paid usage, so you can use that in a paid ad, and then there's the organic usage, which means you can post it on your own channels with attribution. So you're posting it on TikTok, or you're posting it on your Instagram, or you're putting it on your website. And that, if that's really important to you, it might make more sense actually to go with the smaller social media first influencers, because you're likely going to be able to get more usage bundled in. When you're dealing with a celebrity or even a celebrity level influencer, this is where that's the same. That usage is so expensive. And so it's usually a very condensed period of time working with those folks. So if your priority is having, like, we were talking to a client this week, and their social media feeds are absolutely gorgeous, but it's all brand content. So it feels very like you believe that their food is amazing and delicious, but it's all very polished, and you're not seeing anyone like shove the food in their face and talk about how great it is. And like, it's just very, very polished content. And so they have a huge need for content that they can put on their own channels. So for them, it's not going to make sense to work with a celebrity.
Right.
Or someone huge, even.
If it's an either or proposition. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I love the nano, micro, macro environment. I just love those influencers. I feel like so I'm probably a little biased, but I feel like they're warm and open. And like you said, they're not necessarily throwing up as many walls around their content. And so the opportunity to learn and leverage and grow together and build those relationships seems to be it's a really good opportunity, I think, for brands in general. So,
Yeah.
and social media for brands, for all of us, it's like a hungry baby. It always needs to be fed. It's just constant, you know. So if that's another thing, I think you're right. Influencers at certain levels offer a somewhat reliable stream of content during those collaborations without some of the barriers, financial or otherwise,
Yeah.
contractual, time, all of that. It's a great
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love nanos and micros too. And there's something so special. We just discovered someone and he just completed his first piece of content for one of our clients this week and it's so good. And we're so excited
Yes.
about him. And just to give you kind of like a sneak peek into, like, we were having a team meeting and we were talking about how great he was, and we already showed him to another client, and he's just delightful to work with, and his content is high quality. He doesn't have a
Yes.
manager yet. That came up in the conversation
Right.
for
Right.
sure. But that's a great opportunity too for clients, because if they can build, if it's a client that can keep working with someone year over year, it's
Mhm.
not like a diaper or something that they'll age out of, not the influencer themselves, their baby.
Yeah.
Um, it- like if it is a client that can build that long lasting relationship, how nice to get in on the ground floor with someone who's new and will
Yes.
forever appreciate that you gave them that shot and took
Mhm.
that chance. And even if they do grow really big and get a manager, there's still that relationship there. And
Mhm.
for the good managers out there, they're going to respect that. I mean, sure, the rate's going to go up as the person gets bigger, but
Right.
at the end of the day, these are still human beings. And when there is a relationship there, I think that usually does end up helping and meaning something.
I think more often than not, brands working with influencers will find there's a long-term impact of loyalty to that brand, even if it's a one-off. We have found that our influencers over the years have taken client content and repurposed it, especially in the food world where it makes sense. It's seasonal. Let's use pumpkin spice lattes or pumpkin
Right.
spice season. If they do a program with us and a client in 1 year, but next year they need content themselves, they'll resurface that. And it'll, in many cases still have the sponsored tags and notations in it. So I think you're right. There's a lot of loyalty that's at stake that doesn't get talked about in what are the performance metrics? What is their engagement rate? What is their compensation? What's the paid usage? All of that. These are the finer points of working with influencers that really should not be overlooked because, as you're saying, there's so much opportunity there to build
Yeah.
relationships, build community, have long-term impact together beyond what you see on the, signing on the dotted line of the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to find a topic we disagree on. We agree too much.
I was thinking we were going there today. I was
I
like,
know.
ooh,
We almost did.
Danielle
We
does not
almost did.
agree. And I was like, oh no, but I totally agree with what she just said. Damn it.
So I had an idea for next week. I didn't even run this past you yet.
Okay.
I
Not a
think
small penis contest, right?
no small penis contest. I would lose. Mine's huge. I think
What? We should
just kidding.
this is no, mark it down. Episode 3, my favorite episode so far.
Um, there are a few different topics we talked about being a candidate for next week. I was
Okay.
thinking it could be fun if you and I in our LinkedIn listed out maybe 3 or 4 of them and let
Mm,
people vote on what they want us to talk about next week.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. You might have to remind me or just highlight them in our um somewhere. You need to let me know which ones so I don't
Yeah.
go off book and I'm like putting 4 you've never seen before. What
Well,
is
I
she
think
doing?
I can do it now. So I think we will so by the time you're hearing this, we will have our polls up. So I think it can be influencer marketing versus performance marketing and how those two relate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Is the influencer marketing bubble bursting?
Oh, yep. Okay.
Um, and engagement rates, do we care?
I guess I don't get to vote. I would not be able to vote between those. Those
Okay.
are all really
So we'll
good,
see. We'll
juicy.
see what wins.
Okay. Influencer performance versus Brand awareness
performance marketing versus influencer marketing.
Okay.
Is the influencer marketing bubble bursting?
And engagement
and
rates.
engagement rates, do we care?
Wow. Okay. I like it.
So we'll see.
I'll be curious to see what our audiences on LinkedIn say.
We'll let America decide.
That's right. How timely, too, considering when this is coming
out.
That's
right. It's an election. We'll have our own election.
That's right. A much more consequential election we'll have.
Okay. Well, I will see you next week.
All right. Thanks, Danielle. See ya.